interesting for you to use. Okay. Today in this webinar, we're going to talk about live survey, general description, and what it has in it for surveyors, and also what it has for miners, because sometimes you can, give tools to miners to help do their job, and that would be very productive. We're going to look at the configuration and synchronization of drawings that goes with live survey so that you can work very efficiently. Compatible devices that you need to have in order to use the live survey system, the advantages, and of course, how it can profit your company. Okay. The component of live survey. The first thing that you need, of course, is a total station. It can be robotized or not with a Bluetooth link. The Bluetooth link is to connect with a Windows tablet. The Windows tablet needs to be able to run AutoCAD or BricsCAD. Both products are supported by ProMine Live Survey. And of course, a tablet that can go into the harsh conditions of mining is also needed in there. So your tablet, once the tablet has AutoCAD, we will add basically the ProMine Live Survey software into your AutoCAD or BricsCAD. Item. This is actually a picture from one of our clients, which is using ProMine Live Survey. So they have a metal casing around the tablet so that you can carry it around, and miners can, bring this all over the place without having fear to break it. Right now, the ProMine Live Survey is working with Leica's total station. We'll see later the complete list of Leica's instruments which are supported. We do have a prospect client which wants to use it with a Trimble instrument, and we check with Trimble and Topcon also, and we can actually connect with those instruments. So there is there's no limit about the instrument that you want to use. You can, of course, if you use a Leica, we know those instruments. We've been using those for years, so it's we're confident that it's going to work like right away in this case. But if you're patient a little bit, we'll get the Topcon and Trimble also in there. LSV installed in your tablet. So here in this case, we're using AutoCAD, and basically we have installed the ProMine LSV. You can see a little bit the ribbon here used for LSV. When you're using it, you will see where your instrument is located and where the laser pointer is pointing at. So there is really a dynamic way to see what's going on while you are doing your survey. Once you install, you'll get a ribbon, which is in here, where you can see the different functions that can be used. Each of these buttons have a little not only icons like in this part, but also little text describing what the command does. So that helps you figure out what's going on when you are using ProMine LSV. Of course, LSV is made for surveyors, but also for miners. When you use LSV, of course, you will do all your operations into the AutoCAD or BricsCAD environment. Of course, first thing you will do is a setup of the instrument, where you can do a standard setup. Let's say your station is at a known point, or you can do a resection using two prism, basically, that are known location. So that would be the first part where you will start with this. You can then add new stations, new reference points, and those reference points are linked to a database. So they're not only in your drawing, but they're also linked into a database. You can stake various points that you choose in the drawings, and whenever you do it, the program will show where you are pointing and the distance from the point you are staking. It can be a line also, and it will display on screen how far you are from your stake point and the difference in easting, northing, and elevation from the laser point. Where the laser is pointing to the point that you want to stake. So that's very visual where you are pointing the instrument. Of course, there are tools to compare the plan and actual profiles, so you have an idea if the actual shape of the drift is compared to the plan version of it. So you can see if you're above or below, let's say, the floor, and to see where the walls are located compared to the plan part. So that's you can see that visually, and you can see overbreak and underbreak also at that point. Of course, you can stake drill holes or diamond drill holes or basically survey them. So there are tools to survey. Let's say you have a diamond drill hole that you'd like to pinpoint the location, the azimuth, and the dip of the hole. There are tools to do this, and of course, all kinds of survey options in there. But the majority of what you do basically in underground survey for mining is included in there. The part which is not known is the ProMine Live survey for miners. Basically, some people will say, what? We're going to give those instruments to miners? And yes, we're going to give those instruments to miners. And basically, they're going to mark their progress every day with it. But they're also going to see where they need to be mining with the system. So the miner will bring with themselves an instrument and also a tablet, and they'll do basically the survey of what they did, and they'll have also the indication of where they need to go. Of course, when miners start with this, they need some training, and what we did is create a simplified interface where there is maybe 5 or maybe 6 or 7 commands, depending on what they do, and they will actually use these commands. Of course, it's really visual on screen what they need to do next, but they get very used to it. And they like about it is they can do it anytime during their shift. So whenever they cleaned up the face and they're ready to go for the next round, they'll bring in the instrument, set it up, do a resection, and mark their face. As you can see here, in this case, the instrument will, the laser will follow the face along, let's say, 1.5 meter above the floor. You can adjust the height, actually, that you want this. This is into the configuration. And the miner will mark this elevation. At some point, the laser will stop, blink a bit, saying, hey, there's a wall here, and you'll get painted, basically, where the wall is located. The laser will keep going, indicating the slope of the drift. So if it's a ramp going up or down, you'll get that line showing up on the wall, the slope that you need to follow. One thing that we don't see here are the drilling guidelines, where basically we're going to show up on the floor where in which direction you should be drilling. So this is especially important when you get into intersections or in curves, which way you should be drilling according to the phase you have in here. And of course, miners can also stake various points. So let's say there is a safety bay to be done somewhere, they'll be able to pinpoint the walls of the safety bay and have an idea where that safety bay should be located. So there is tools in there to help them make sure that they drill in the right spot and also in the right direction. Okay. Configuration and synchronization. Basically, when you set up your tablet, you can be configured in surveyor or miner mode. When you are in miner mode, of course, there's not as many things as when you are in surveyor mode that can be done. So miners will have some restriction on what they can do, but of course, everything that is essential for them is in there. Of course, as you do the survey, there is a set of layers which is used by the program. Those layers are configured for surveyors and miners, and when the miners do something on their layers, there is verification that can be done by the surveyor before they include this new development into the main drawing database. So at some point, surveyor will get the drawing from the miners and the check that it makes sense, it's on the right layers, and transfer that into the main drawing database. So anything that miners survey will be checked. Synchronization. As soon as you do something, of course, it is saved. So every time you end up a command, that part is saved. So you're not going to lose anything. So even if the miner turns off the tablet because he's done with his work, he doesn't have to go through some saving or some step about saving his work. This is all taken care of as they go. When the tablet reconnects to the network, there is a little program that will start and will upload basically the changes and the addition that the miner did to the drawings to the server. So this is all automated. Usually, the miner will come back with the tablet and just drop it into the docking station where it can recharge, of course. But when it's into the docking station, the drawings are going to be uploaded. So for them, it's just, hey, I'm coming back and putting the tablet there, and they don't have to worry about anything from there. In the case where there is updates to the, let's say, the driving layouts that you have for a given heading, the changes that the miners will be uploaded, but also the changes that we're making to the driving layout, let's say that you change the azimuth of a drift, will be uploaded to the tablet automatically. So there is a two-way communication in there where the tablet drawings are kept up to date, and you receive also the changes that the miners have modified. This process can be different if you prefer something else. We have a client that is basically using USB key. So they'll just put the drawings onto that key and connect it to the tablet. And whenever the miner is coming back on surface, he'll just leave the tablet at the wicket where the surveyors will just grab them and get the changes from that USB key. So it all depends on how you want to work. And we can adjust to your preferred way. If there are conflicts, because sometimes, you may have miners that are in the same area using the same layers, there might be some conflicts between drawings, but we have tools to manage those conflicts so that you make sure that no one is overwriting the work of someone else. And of course, that helps, keeping all the data in a safe and always available manner. Of course, your drawing must have some adaptations for this. And basically, what you need at first is at least 2 stations in your drawing. Of course, those stations must exist also on the ground. And depending on how you want to set it up, you can use a mini prism with a drilled hole. I have a client which is using split set, and basically they have a little setup with a prism at the end where they'll insert that into a split set. Some will have, screw-in stations that are installed into in there. In some cases, I've seen people, just painting basically a station and using a felt marker, do a little cross on the rock. It's all how you want to use it. Of course, depending on how precise your miners are making the surveys, you'll need to adapt basically to what you get from the miners. And of course, surveyors will always go back, let's say after a couple of weeks of development from the miners, and make a check survey of the of what was done by the miners. I have a client that has stations with miner stations and surveyor stations into their drawing, so that they have a different set of stations. And of course, when they do precision work, they'll use the surveyor stations instead of the miner stations. And they'll check that, everything is going in the right direction. Of course, you need a center line. This is to help to guide basically the LSV program so that you know in which direction you need to go. And this center line also works with, you don't need to have the walls, but if you have the walls, we'll also work with the walls polyline so that we can adjust for, let's say, dimension change, or if you have a flash which is taken on one wall, then in this case, it can be indicated by the LSV program. And a 3D model of the planned drift so that we can get the floor and back elevations at which point the miners are going into. If you have a TDB, a little part that you take onto the back of a drift, this can be also included in the 3D model so that the program can take into account that, hey, from here, we have a TDB, so the roof will be indicated higher in this case. Okay, compatible devices. Leica's device for now. This is the list of what we support right now. TS09 is non-robotic, but you can still use ProMine Live Survey with non-robotic instrument. In this case, of course, you need to point the let's say the prism by yourself, and you also need to point the instrument and see where the walls are located, for example, the back and the floor, and indicate the slope by hand. This takes, of course, a little bit longer when you're doing the process, and you need to kind of look at the tablet and point the instrument at the same time. And in this case, very often, being 2 persons to do the markings is necessary. When you have a robotized tablet, you can be only a single person to do all the marking. So there is a drawback that using non-robotic instrument has is, okay, you may need one more person in there to be efficient. But also the other drawback is your precision is going to be less important than with robotized instrument. Whenever miners do a resection, they'll have a message about the resection precision, so they can see, okay, am I okay with a 1 minute error? You can actually adjust it so that the error that you allow basically when you do the resection, so that the miners cannot continue if, let's say, the error is above a certain limit. TS13, TS15. The TS15 are TCR instrument, and you need the Geocom license with those instruments to enable the Bluetooth communication. Of course, TS15 are discontinued since I think a year or so, but you can still find those instruments here and there. Still used. We have a couple of those at ProMine, TS15, which are fairly old, but you can still use ProMine Live Survey with it. And one of our clients actually bought for the miners used instrument of this TS15 series. So that's you're not giving an instrument which is brand new and also very costly to the miners. So in this case, it's very good. Very good, I would say, saving to do this. Of course, the accident may happen to instrument. A lot of them can be, fixed, but plan on losing one, I would say, every now and then. Well, depending on how your miners handle them, but it's a risk that you may take into account when giving that to miners. But usually when miners see how useful it is, and they don't have to wait for surveyors in some case, and they do this anytime they want, it's kind of, hey, this is so useful. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to be, cautious about those instruments because it's a very useful tool for me to be productive. Higher end TS16 also. Higher ends MS60, TS60, and I repeated MS60. I think it was a MX60 that I should have put in there. Also can be used in here. Of course, some of these instruments have point cloud capabilities and other things, which you can still use. We have Topcon and Trimble devices that we looked at for the development of a connection with those instruments. So at some point, we just need the client to say, hey, I'm having Topcon instrument, for example, and we'll say, okay, we'll get the interface with that device developed and basically work with Topcon instrument. The compatible device, well, of course, a Windows tablet that can run AutoCAD or BricsCAD with decent performance, because sometimes you have Windows tablets which have a very low memory and a processor which is not that fast. But since you're going to run AutoCAD or BricsCAD on that tablet, you should look at a good performance tablet in here. Bluetooth connection with that tablet to connect with the instrument. It's preferred over a cable connection. Some instrument can be connected with cables, but you'll get dirt in there, rust or anything, and at some point that cable is going to break. So go for a Bluetooth connection for sure with the instrument. That's going to be much more reliable than any cable that you can get for connecting with the tablet. Of course, a ruggedized tablet is good. Look for battery performance also, because sometimes some tablets will not be able to run for a long time, especially when it's cold in your mind. You may actually realize that, oh, okay, my battery is not going to last more than 1 hour. One of our client is in permafrost, so in their case, it's always below freezing point into that mine. So the tablet, the battery is very important to have a decent time of operation. Advantages. Okay, there's a lot of advantages. I'm not going to go through all of this, but I'll get that. Okay. The validity of the survey is checked directly at the face. So when the miners set up the instrument and turn the laser and see where the laser pointer is pointing at, and does it make sense with what I have? Yes. They see it, it's visual, they have a very good idea what's going on. Even for the surveyor, they turn the instrument and they say, okay, yes, I'm in the right spot. The stations that I used to set up, they were the right ones, and everything is that. So, because sometimes depending on how you work, you'll do your survey, you'll come back to the surface and boom, oh, okay, mistake. We need to go back. And that's a pain, really a pain in the ass. In this case, never happens. You see your drawings, you see where you're pointing at. Does it make sense? Yes. You are sure of what you do. There is no transfer of data. So you don't get kind of an ASCII file that you process and you import points. Sometimes, you need to fiddle around with the layers of those blocks and polylines and all of that. So you're doing it directly at the face. So you see all of those polylines and points that you collect, and you already have that information that you can share basically with everyone. That information, of course, as soon as you connect with your network, it's available to anyone. So that's another thing, another example that where you get productive also. It's kind of, hey, as soon as a miner is ready to drill, he's doing this, and it gets available to everyone. So if geologists, for example, want to know, okay, where is this face? Because they know that they're going to hit the ore at some point, you can look at the drawing and see, oh, okay, today they are here. So I'll go there tomorrow when the next run is going to be taken, for example. So there is a really an advantage also in there. Okay. Drilling accuracy is improved and adapt to the actual design. So what the program does, it creates those drilling lines. You can adjust how far you want to get outside of the walls. Of course, this is a straight part, but when you have a curve, you'll get those drilling lines here. And it will take into account if you have bumps in here into the wall, and adjust basically where you can start drilling, and then indicate a direction which will fit. So sometimes if you are in a curve, you'll get a line which is really inside. And you'll also get the length to use according to that curve, so that you'll get maximum. Let's say the curve is turning to the right here, you'll get maximum drilling length in here, but you'll get shorter holes here. So in order to keep your face perpendicular to your driving direction, of course. If you have change of sizes or safety bays or anything like that, that's also going to be included into this case. So As an example here, you see that this was taken a little bit wide in here. So next time that they use the ProMine Live survey, that wall was brought inside. So saving you basically, some miners would say, okay, this is my face and keep drilling that way, but you don't want those tons to be included in here. So the program will correct anything that you do in here, so that that really adapt on your current conditions. Uh, so depending on where your previous face in green here is located, the program will adapt basically where it will put the drilling lines and indicate where the miners where to go. Of course, if it's a different slope here and a different slope there, you can also mark those different slopes on an intersection, making sure that, hey, we're going at the right slope depending where we're going at. So every day, your faces are surveyed. The data is available to the entire team of engineers. And one thing which is also important is the surveyors do not have to travel to those faces as often as they do usually, because the miners are in there and making those surveys as they go. So you save a lot of traveling time for the surveyors. Because the miners are keeping that up to date. Also the miners will get offsets from the floor. So if they are above or below some distance from the floor and the back, also they will get also a direct idea where they are at compared to the plan elevation, so they can correct this very quickly while they are driving in there. If you have complex development, like in this example here, where you'll have one part here which is going, let's say, minus 15%, another part here which is going 2%, and you need to indicate all and an intersection coming up in here. This is handled by the program, and you have, let's say, electrical bay in here, another electrical bay in here. So this is easy for the program to pinpoint where they're at and basically get this on the right direction. So as you can see, like the purple line in here, it's following quite well the development plan. I'm quite sure that some of you here are looking at that line and are saying, whoa, I wish our miners would be as good as this. But you don't need to have as good miners. You need to have very good directions to get those miners to be in there. So you see here, there's a little bit wider part that was in here, and you can see that the wall is following quite closely, and at some point it came back in here, and basically that's a very good development done compared to what was planned in there. Profitability, and this is where it gets really, really interesting, because you're looking at it and you're kind of, yeah, okay, yeah, that's nice, but is it worth it? And basically, you don't need to calculate a lot to see how much time, let's say, you're going to save. People are going to save, even the surveyors and the miners, saving time and distributing the data to people on time and as it is developed. That's saving a lot of time to everyone in there. But I'll make an example with the tonnage that you can save, basically how you can benefit from the system. So if you take a drift which is 4 meters high, 5 meters wide, and you're going 3.5 meters per blast, you get around 200 tons in that blast. By having a better directions for the miners, you reduce the overbreak by 5%. And this is, I think that we can say that we can make easily more than 5% in this case. But I'm being kind of, okay, you already have good miners, we're going to make them even better. And we reduce the overbreak by 5%. So you save 10 tons by improving basically your accuracy. If you do, let's say, 200 rounds per year in a heading, so you're not blasting every day, but pretty much 2 days on 3. If you look at those 200 rounds that you save 10 tons, you're going to save at the end of the year 2,000 tons of material in development. At a cost of $100 per ton. Of course, yours can be different than 100 per ton, but that's going to give you an idea. If it's higher than that, you can just, hey, that's going to be, let's say it's 150. You can just say, hey, it's 1.5 times that you can see here. So $100 per tons times 2,000 tons, you can save basically $200,000 per year with this. And of course, the ProMine Live Survey doesn't cost $200,000 per year. And this is only one heading. So if you get basically 5 or 10 headings going on, you multiply those savings by that amount of headings. So there is a lot of money to be saved in this case. So it's really kind of a very simple example, but it gives you a very good idea how much you can save with the ProMine Live Survey. And in conclusion, ProMine Live Survey improves your productivity because you are always, I would say, on time at the face to give directions. You are more accurate, so you're really going in the right direction, and you know they are going in the right direction. You see it visually, and of course, you have a faster and easier way of tracking progress, so everyone knows where you're at every day, and basically that makes a very good. It's very good to see how is your plan compared to what we do, and see where basically you could be putting more effort to get back onto the plan. And let's say you're getting late on some headings, so that's another thing that you can do. Well, that's it for my presentation, and if you have any questions, please you can, of course, send them through the chat, and I'll answer those questions. Daniela, do you get any questions going on? Okay, I guess there's not any questions in here, so we're going to stop this webinar, and see you next in another ProMine webinar.